evening, everyone. It is March 5th, 2019. We're beginning our executive session at 6:30. I would like to call the meeting to order.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner. By the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 3rd, 2019. By the copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 3rd, 2019. By the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 3rd, 2019. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127, NJAC 17:27. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to the right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich.
Present.
Ms. Richmond.
Present.
Mr. Russo.
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. Is there any reason to go into executive this evening?
Yes, Mayor, we have items to discuss pertaining to litigation and attorney-client privilege.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Motion to go into executive session?
A second?
Second.
Thank you.
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of this meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12, and whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 in executive session, whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of the executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed, and upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich.
Yes.
Ms. Richmond.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for a little bit of a delay, but we were still in discussion in the back. I would like to call this meeting to order. It is 7:45 on Tuesday, March 5th, 2019. Opening. Right? No?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner. By the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 3rd, 2019. By the copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 3rd, 2019. By the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 3rd, 2019. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127, NJAC 17:27. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to the right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call. That's my sheet. Mr. Bonovich.
Present.
Ms. Richmond.
Present.
Mr. Russo.
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. I'd like to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, but we have our Cub Scout, Pack 315, with us. So, gentlemen, would you like to come up? Do you want to come up here and maybe we can start from here in the front? Come on, guys. Right in front. Would you like to, let's face the flag. So who would like to start?
Okay.
A pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. See you too.
I would entertain a motion for the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes of February 9th.
19th?
I'm sorry?
19th?
19.
Oh, I'm sorry, 19th, 2019, yes.
I second.
Thank you.
Is there discussion before or after?
Is there a second on the motion?
Yes.
Okay, then there's discussion on
Discuss.
the motion.
I just want to be on record, I made changes to the minutes.
Do we have those?
Yes, we have received an email,
Yeah.
and Penny actually did respond. Okay, I'm just making those.
I
who-
know that.
Maybe they don't, though. Not everybody got their emails, they were late.
They know.
Okay, but the rest of the council, I think,
I-
needs to know. And
I
everyone
was
doesn't
un-
know?
I was unaware, but
Okay.
is it substantial? I mean, like,
It was just wording,
okay.
but I wanted you to be aware before we went through the whole vote that I made changes to the minutes.
Roll call. Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
No.
Mr. Russo?
Abstain?
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. I would like to open this portion of hearing of the citizens. Do we have a list, Brian?
It's on the table over there. Yep.
Down in Tom's River.
Excuse me, Mayor. There's one item I would like to read into the record.
Sure.
The clerk report. Added to the agenda has been the following. Resolution R-19-106, 9A10, authorized release of maintenance guarantee and acceptance of separate maintenance guarantee for the Stormwater Basin Landmark Howell LLC, Quick Check CVS Investors Bank, Block 54.01, Lot 64, Route 9 North and Salem Hill Road, case number SP-982. Resolution R-19-107, 9A11, refund construction permit, James A. Jordan Jr., $200, and ordinance O-19-15, 11.3, amend Chapter 139, fee ordinance, shooting range use.
Thank you. P. Murray? Yes, ma'am. You could sit at either one of the two tables.
Pretty quick. Do I state my name or what?
Your name and address, please.
Okay. Petra Murray, 94 Church Road, Howell.
Thank you.
If you're younger and healthier, this issue probably doesn't even occur to you, but this is a big building, a very big building, and long, long hallways. Some of us are late with our taxes, and we come up, and it isn't just our taxes, we come up for different things to the places in the back, way, way, way in the back. And apparently, I'm not the only person who has asked about this, asked the women who work behind the booth, collecting taxes, et cetera. Is there no way we could just have a table and a locked box, for instance, or perhaps there's a mail chute already, where we could, by the front door, slip something? It wouldn't be expensive, it wouldn't be an ordeal, I shouldn't think. I've spoken to people, I don't know who, I don't remember now who it's been over the phone about this, and they seem to say that's a good idea, and you're not the only person who was
Seems
asked.
quite reasonable.
Yeah, just something. I don't think, a check, I know you can mail taxes, but some of us are too disorganized to do that on time. And then you get back and forth with it didn't come in the mail this day, so therefore we have to add this, and then you get a bill for $2 or whatever. Wish it was only $2, but, so just wondering if there's some way we could have something that's a little bit more accessible to us old fogies who have trouble with our feet, or legs, or backs, or something.
Yes, I think we could,
Yes,
Brian?
I'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Bless you, thank you. And the second thing, since I haven't been to a meeting in a long, long time, I'm sure this issue has come up before, but I'm going to add my voice to it. The issue with the medical marijuana is not getting a prescription. I've had a prescription since June, but it's getting it. Right now, you have to go, it's an obstacle course, and I'm sure you probably know this, and just tell me to be quiet if it's been gone through, I'm sure it has been. First of all, you need a computer because the state will only communicate with you by email, so you have to be able to transcribe that. You obviously have to have a prescription. You have to see one of the dispensary people, for instance, Breakwater, before they will disseminate anything to you. The one place is in Cranberry. I'm told that's one of the closest. Woodbridge. I've seen things in the paper where there've been lots of applications for permits in order to open a dispensary. And I thought, oh, good, maybe we'll get something. And again, this doesn't matter. If somebody is, very healthy and has no issues, it may not even occur to them other than a very casual dinner conversation item. But there are a lot of people, unfortunately, especially with opioids being so taboo, there are a lot of people who have issues, and to say go home and take an aspirin or a Tylenol just doesn't cut it. And a lot of us would like to have access to something, but to go to Cranberry or to Woodbridge, and when all these, I don't know if it was 100 and some permits were, the state was being requested, and then to see it in the paper some weeks later, nothing in Howell Township, nothing in Ocean Township. Now, things are happening all the time, I realize that. But I don't know where we are now, and as I say, I haven't been to a meeting in a long time. And I would just like to know if Howell is entertaining any possibility of opening a dispensary, or I don't even know why we have a dispensary. I don't know why we can't have something, in Walmart or pharmacy or in Walgreens or something. I mean, we have morphine and we have other more strong, if you want to say, drug addict, attractive, etc. things on the market now that are readily accessible. So I don't know what the issue is with medical marijuana, which of course has all the, hallucinogenics taken out of it, I'm told. So I don't know if anybody has any answer now, or is Howell looking into the possibility of opening a dispensary? And if they aren't, why not?
Has anybody come to the township requesting?
They are state licensed facilities.
Right.
There's only a certain number of facilities
Right.
available in the state. Recently, there was talk of the state issuing a few more licenses. The township was approached by a few different people, but the timing of it was prohibitive for them to get the necessary approvals for, excuse me, to open here in Howell. Currently, we do have an ordinance on the books that we've adopted the federal standard against the legalization of any drugs. So that would most likely have to be changed by the governing body before any facility could even be entertained.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last part about taking the stance of the federal something?
We have an ordinance on our books pertaining to drugs that we've adopted the federal standard. It's been on the books for a number of years. So, for example, even if the state legalizes marijuana for recreational use, it's still contrary to Howell's local ordinance.
Well, I'm specifically talking about
Medical.
medicinal or
Right.
medical, or whatever you want to call it, which I've been told have been legal for 3 years, but. I think a lot
We
of
would still
people-
have to modify our ordinance for it to be an approved use here in Howell, and it's a developer that would have to get licensure from the state for that.
I mean,
which we
my
have no control.
understanding It's tremendously financially beneficial to people, to whomever, and investors, and perhaps because the opioids are all, so taboo, and unfortunately, people do have pain, and again, we don't have anything else, but Tylenol, Motrin, some of these things that just don't cut it. And meanwhile, we also have increases in Lyme's disease, et cetera, which can contribute greatly to Lyme's arthritis and so on, and a lot of pain issues. And we live longer, but the quality of life is not necessarily better. As far as I'm concerned, it isn't. No point in living a long life if you're going to be stuck in a chair because you're in too much pain to do anything else.
Right. The information that we've got from some of the developers that were inquiring, first they would need to get their state license, and there's only a select few. I believe there's 3 currently, and they were instituting 3 more licenses, and they were looking for Howell for possibly cultivation, not dispensaries.
Well, I mean, what can we do to move this forward? I cannot be surely the only person interested in pushing this.
It's somebody that would have to have a state license to be able to sell that.
Right, but you say that if Howell didn't even, I don't know how much interest Howell has shown. I'm not prepared to speak on this issue. I don't have notes, et
I
cetera, et cetera.
believe what Brian is saying is that there were a certain number of licenses that were allotted by the state, and those licenses have been gobbled up, so to speak. So there's,
But we didn't even apply, I don't think.
It's not the town that
it's
applies,
not the
it's the
town, it's an
private developer.
individual person that would
No, but you
apply.
said it's still, Howell wouldn't go along with it because it's not on the.
Well, we would have to change some of our
Well,
ordinances.
okay, so is that a first step, changing some of the ordinance?
Of the developers we spoke to, I don't believe there was any interest in opening a dispensary in this area. They generally look towards well-populated areas for that, based on what we were told during the meetings we had with several of the.
Again, there's so much misinformation or contrary information floating around. But I know I'm not the only person who's interested
Oh, I'm sure,
in pain relief.
but it's not a business that the town would enter into. It's,
No, but but I was saying if somebody wouldn't apply or couldn't apply or knew they'd be turned down because it was against the rules and regs, would they bother? I mean, I hear a totally different story, that it's so beneficial that everybody, towns want it because the taxation is tremendously, desirable. And, everybody wants money. And that's not, I couldn't care less about that, other than as a selling point. But I would like to know why my town, to say that we aren't well enough populated, we do have,
they look for urban areas, city environments where they're going to have a lot of transient traffic.
but the immediately?
Ma'am, I can't speak to people wanting to open a particular business or not.
I mean, I don't know how many people go to Walgreens for morphine. I don't know how many people, unfortunately, are suffering with cancer or other issues, chronic pain. But those, if you don't have friends or family, or you yourselves don't have an issue, I would be very surprised. We must have something in our water that's keeping everybody totally healthy and totally disinterested in something like this, but we're making money, getting money for the town. The town's not interested?
Mary?
I mean, I just would like.
Ma'am, it's not a township-operated
I know,
business.
I know, but you
So
know-
we would have to have somebody that has a license from the state
Yeah.
approach us and show an interest, and then it would be up to the governing body to,
Would they approach you if they know it's more of a roadblock? The way just,
from the people that we met with, they wouldn't have an interest in opening a dispensary here because of the lower population compared to an urban environment.
is Brick,
It's more populated than we are.
I know, I think they're working on something, so apparently, I don't know if it would go through or not, but, can we have some sort of, something? Again, I'm not the only person. Can I be the only person who's interested?
Of course not. Of course not. My
okay.
understanding, when I've spoken to people that were interested in growing, we've had some interest from a couple of people about growing. However, to my knowledge, we haven't had anyone approach us in Howell for a dispensary. Obviously, we don't fit their requirements for their financial growth because of our population. However, I do know that you could have someone, obviously, they're fingerprinted and whatnot, and they go get the medication for you, which is something that I just had in my own family before she passed away. We were fingerprinted, and we went to North Jersey to pick up her medication to bring it back. And it is a process, but it's a process that you do because someone needs it, in your family. So, so we did that. But there is that process where, someone in your family or a friend that you identify goes through that paperwork, and they bring it to you. I can only speak to what's happened in my own family,
Well,
so.
whatever the population is, I mean, people travel today. It's nothing to go from one town to another town to another town. So whatever Howell Township population is, doesn't mean that somebody from Red Bank wouldn't come here or somebody else because of the.
Well, I don't
quicker.
disagree, but, it's a business to whomever would come to us, and they look at this strictly as a business, and their businesses where they're going to make their better profit. And apparently, we have not been attractive enough to engage someone to come in and be a dispensary.
But we could let it be known that we would be interested, or we would not put up more roadblocks or whatever, even though it's not a township-run facility, of course. I mean, I know everybody knows Jay Connick's story.
Correct.
And knows that the family is pursuing something, and I just had mentioned that whatever. And their point was they didn't expect the medical marijuana to cure his cancer, unfortunately. But they knew that immediately he took it, it stopped the nausea, et cetera, that he got from chemotherapy, and enabled him perhaps to live a little bit longer because he was able to eat. And it wasn't-
Absolutely. Yeah, obviously, there's a certain, there's a great
there are
deal
a lot proponents,
of
there's
relief.
a lot of interest, and unfortunately, there's a lot of chemotherapy, a lot of need for it, and not just chemotherapy, I mean, all kinds of things. But I just wish we could let it be known that that if somebody is interested, they would not be met with a lot of roadblocks by this township. I mean, I know people who wanted to invest in something, but, it just didn't go any farther than that because things are just grinding to a standstill here, not everywhere. And if it's just a population issue, I just wasn't aware of that. It's the first time I've heard that it's Howell's population that's keeping developers away.
I'm just providing some feedback I had gotten from some of the people in that business that we met with over the summer.
All right, well, if I'm wrong, but it isn't the information I've received. All right, well, is there anything you can suggest, other than getting a friend to go to Woodbridge, that's quite a good friend who's going to
Indeed.
do that, and maybe have to go every month. I mean, I think that's a bit much too, and I don't know why, it's easier for me to go to get morphine than it is to get something that's not a hallucinogenic, because it's new, I don't know. And meanwhile, take away the opioids and just say, tough luck, you're on your own. You're old.
I would agree,
So
it's
we're
quite a
not
dilemma.
interested.
I understand your plight, and I wish we had an answer, but it really is out of our purview, in all honesty.
You don't think there's anything that this township could do with ordinances or whatever, or with receptivity, or?
Well, even if we had just for instance, even if we had an ordinance that said, yes, we can't, we don't bring the person to us,
No,
you
of
know?
course not, but
But-
if they just knew that this is, they would not be,
And medical marijuana, of course, has been around well, actually, many years.
Yeah.
You know, so,
but that we have trouble with, I guess. We have trouble with,
seems to be
yeah.
unfortunate, so.
Well, perhaps somebody can think of some way to move as I say, the receptivity order, Thank you.
Kathy Novak?
Kathy Novak, 16 Stratton Drive. I have a question regarding 9A1, and I don't know the process, but I looked at the list of all the foreclosed properties, and I saw Resource Engineering, Randolph Road on it, and I was wondering, is that the same property that applied for the construction waste transfer station through Monmouth County?
I don't know that answer.
Which page was that on that you were looking at?
It's before all the ones that say unknown. It's fourth from the top.
Yes, that's correct.
So that's the same property?
Correct.
So what is the process now that this is a foreclosed property? What happens next? I don't know the process here.
I believe this is authorizing the tax collector to foreclose on these properties, right, Joe? So there's still a,
There's still a process left.
Right.
We have outside counsel that handles our tax foreclosures, so the tax collector will forward it to them, and then they'll typically file suit to foreclose on it. And then, depending on what the response to the complaint is, their decision is made to continue going forward. It depends on how the litigants handle
They can't hear
the
you.
So the process is that we have outside counsel that handles our tax foreclosure cases. They'll file a complaint on these, seeking to foreclose on the right of redemption in these properties. The people owing the taxes always have the opportunity to come forward and pay them. If they don't, then typically what'll happen is we'll take possession of the property.
So presently, Resource Engineering is a business that is functioning, who is a foreclosed property. Is that correct?
That's what it appears to be, yes.
Okay, so my next question is, would the Monmouth County freeholders be interested in knowing this before they take their vote on the waste transfer station? Does anyone think so?
I would say so.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Would Howell Township, would the manager, would you just typically notify them, or how would that work?
No, I don't make notifications from any of these foreclosures.
Does anybody at the town do that?
no.
No.
No, we're not required to notify the county of the properties that we're foreclosing on. It's solely at the municipal level.
But wouldn't they have that information, Joe?
They could find it through the filings and the various, I'm not sure what kind of documents will appear on record, there's probably a list pendants that's filed with the county clerk, so there'll be some sort of note indicating to the world that something is happening with that parcel.
I don't know too much about the foreclosure process, but I would imagine the county would be notified of foreclosure in their county. That's
Yes,
just,
through the clerk,
I think, I mean, I don't know for sure.
But I don't think that that was the question,
No,
though.
my question is,
sorry.
I know that the whole board, the whole council here is opposed to that construction waste transfer station. And now you have before you that the people operating that site only don't pay their taxes and it's foreclosed property. Shouldn't you follow up with the county freeholders and say what's happening?
So if I understand, the question is, will we take action based on what you're asking to notify the freeholders?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, I'm sure it's something we can discuss internally with council and make a decision on that. I don't see why they wouldn't think it's material, but it's certainly something that council will take under advice.
I just want to say I typically don't look at things like that, and
think
it
it's a great
just
idea.
struck me that that was on the list, and it's kind of like you have to really be looking for it to see it, and I wasn't looking. It just appeared, and so that's why I came up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come up? Seeing no one? Oh. Sandra, if you, come on, you know the rules. If you want to speak, please come up to the microphone. I'm not going to entertain your question.
I'm not going to ask you a question. Are you discussing?
I'm not entertaining unless you come up to the mic.
Oh, here we go.
Sandra Solly, Birdsall Road, Farmingdale.
Thank you.
Are you going to be discussing these ordinances before you read them to introduce them and vote on them?
Always, we do each ordinance gets read individually.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Can I talk about it now, or do I have to wait until you introduce it or vote on it?
You can talk about it now.
All right,
It's open forum.
that's what I'm asking. All right, the salary ordinance. It says administrative assistant to the manager, 30,000 to 75,000. Then on the next page, and it's little tiny print. Then on the next page, it says confidential assistant to the manager, 30,000 to 75,000. Is that the same job or two people doing two different things?
Do we have a job description for the two positions?
We do have job descriptions for each of those, however, not all of those positions are filled.
They were vacant, actually.
Yeah,
So
there's
no-
several positions listed
Yeah, I
that
saw
are
that.
vacant.
So nobody has that job right now. Confidential assistant to the manager and administrative assistant to the manager. So you don't know
One
what
of them is filled currently,
administrative assistant?
yes,
Is that like a secretary?
yes.
And then the other one, confidential assistant to the manager, same wages, same amount of work, same pay?
It's vacant.
Well, what I just asked you is it the same amount of work for the same amount of money, or is it different responsibilities?
That was held previously, and it was a different job, apparently. It was before my tenure here.
So if nobody's in it right now, and the budget's coming up, so you have this extra $30,000 to pay somebody to do
No,
this?
that's not a budgeted position.
Unknown business. All right, now, grant coordinator, 10 to 20,000. Is there a grant coordinator now?
No,
Are you gonna hire a grant coordinator?
there's no plans to, nor is there one budgeted for currently.
Well, we're talking about the Mackenzie Museum and getting grants. Shouldn't we have a grant coordinator?
So I act as the grant coordinator. I do pretty much every grant that goes through the town with the exception of maybe the Alliance grant. So on the grants outside of my purview that I don't have time or ability to work on, we use an outside consultant to handle those grants. Other than that, we write all the rest of the grants in-house. The CDBG grant that we just got last week, or this week, that you guys don't even know about, we got another $136,000 that we wrote last year. The DOT grants, all that comes out of my office.
All right, now, Clean Community Coordinator, is that a position that currently has someone in it? Or is that a new helper for the coordinator that we now have?
What title? I'm sorry.
Clean Community Coordinator, and then a Clean Community Secretary.
Yeah.
So there is an employee in the Public Works Department who handles, coordinates the Clean Communities grant and all of the efforts that are held under that. That position is funded solely from the Clean Communities grant.
But who are these two positions? What is these two positions? 1,000 to 5,000? 1,000 to 3,000?
They're a position that's
stipends.
approved by a grant, and so they're stipend for two people.
So
For that individual to take on those additional duties, that person is paid a stipend within the minimum and maximum range of what is listed, and it is fully funded from the Clean Communities grant.
Oh, for the amount of money, $1,000 to $3,000, is that like 20 hours a week for a couple of months, or how does that work?
There's not a set number. It's various reporting throughout the year that has to be compiled and submitted.
All right, now, Lake and Wildlife Secretary, is that someone to take the minutes for the Lake and Wildlife Committee? And it's
Yes.
$250 to $500. Is someone currently taking the minutes now?
No.
Oh, so this is new?
It's vacant.
But do they need someone to take their minutes, is what I'm asking. And the utility collector, what job is that?
The utility collector is a position held by the tax collector. She's paid the individual is paid a stipend to collect the funds for the sewer utility, and that stipend is funded from said sewer utility.
So that's additional salary or something, stipend, to do work that maybe is being done by that person now?
The work is currently being done by that individual, and that person is paid a stipend to be the collector for the sewer utility, because the sewer utility has a separate director of operations. So in order to have a person delegated as a collector for the utility funds, that individual is paid a stipend for that cause.
Does that mean they go out on the street, knock on people's door?
No.
So when you go to the window to pay your taxes or the sewer, someone else is gonna jump up and take your money? Because it's a utility collector? What is that?
These are grant-funded positions.
Where does it
So,
say that?
I believe
It
that
says non-union
Lou
positions and
just, Lou
stipends.
just said that these were grant positions, that there's a stipend associated with the grant.
Mayor, not
So-
all of them that she's referring to are grant funded.
The other one, though, that she was just mentioning, the
Clean
wild.
Community Coordinator, I know is a grant. That I know. But this other one, and I know somebody was going to take training from DPW to do, what was it, recycling or?
Recycling, yes.
Recycling, okay. All right, now, what is an AB operator? It's above the Lake and Wildlife Secretary.
That was a newly added one, I believe. The state requires us to have certain personnel certified, so this has to do with our refueling station at DPW. We have to have somebody certified to do training and do inspections of the minor parts of that.
So what is AB stand for?
I don't know off the top of my head.
And it's only $1,000 to $5,000, so that's like a part-time? I mean, if he's not here during the day and you need him, you gotta call him to come down here? How does that work?
Never.
It's an added duty. There is
Added
no set
duty.
amount of hours
All right,
assigned
so
to it.
someone's there doing it now, but he's gonna get a little extra for doing it.
It's a new position.
But you just said someone's already doing it.
Yeah, it was a newly
doing it
implemented
and getting
requirement
paid.
from the state.
All right, township planner, do we have a township planner?
We have a consultant.
Well, it says planner,
It's contracted out currently.
60 to 90,000. Is that a position that's not filled at the moment, or is there someone?
Correct.
So no one's doing it right now?
That's what I said.
So you have to hire somebody to do this?
We contract it out currently.
I don't know. And then, Assistant CFO, do we currently have someone helping do that?
Yes.
So from 50 to 110,000, and you raise the minimum to 60, and then it goes up to 110. And the tax assessor, 50,000 to 120, and you raise the maximum from 102 to 120, and then the tax collector, 50,000 to 120,000. This is something that someone in the past had said they didn't like to see these large ranges. And I would say that range, 50,000 to 120,000, is a very large range. See, I don't understand, you were discussing it 2 weeks ago. If someone wants to get paid more and he's non-union, can he say he wants to get a little bit short of the maximum, or he's gonna leave, and then you gotta give it to him? I mean, how does this work? I don't understand.
Depends on their experience, qualifications, certifications.
And we have a human resources administrator,
Yes.
so it's gonna go from 40,000 to 85,000. So that person is theoretically gonna be getting a raise this year?
No, this is just an allowable range for them to be compensated. Doesn't mean they're making the maximum, doesn't mean they're making the minimum.
So, what I don't understand is, and this is very confusing, at what point do these people go above the minimum range, or the range that they're now, towards the maximum range? Is it like once a year, every 2 years, depending on what step they're in? How does that work?
Well, there are no steps for these positions. Some of them, it's based on their training, if they attain certain certifications. As you had mentioned, the assistant CFO. The
Right.
current person in that position is still completing certification towards her certified municipal finance officer. So the closer she gets to that certification, she gets an increase.
Now, do you currently have a payroll administrator?
Yes.
So, 40,000 to 85,000. Okay, so the person's been here for a while?
Excuse me, Sandra, I think she doesn't have the updated ordinance, because I'm reading totally different numbers.
Out in the hall.
Sandra, the new ordinance was only 5% above the current salaries.
Oh,
and
I'm
we-
just asking, because this is what's out on the wall. Sorry.
Maybe it was
Somebody
Last
goofed?
week.
Somebody goofed?
someone might have left it
No,
there.
they put them up today. They weren't sitting, they weren't sitting out there all week. All right, that's it, thank you.
Tina Smilek, 33 Charles Street, Howell, New Jersey. What is the criteria to get put on a tax foreclosure list?
Don't pay your taxes.
I mean, like, 2 taxes, 4 taxes?
I don't know, it's statutory, and I think it depends on the amount of time that the tax is going paid. I don't know off the top of my head.
I see some go back like 30 years.
Yeah, some do, and, some of them, for whatever reason, I don't know why they go back so far, but I know in those cases, there are probably special circumstances that I'm unaware of. If you have a specific one that you want to ask about, email me, and I'll drill down on it, because typically when you see something that old, there's a story there as to why it took so long to do it.
I just want to know, like, criteria-wise, if you miss 2 payments, would it be possible for you to be put on this list? Or is it normally like a year, you have to be over a year?
It normally takes time. We're not in the business of foreclosing and owning properties. We'd prefer to collect the taxes. So it does take time to get on the list, and it does take even more time. And even up until the date of the sale, there's still an opportunity for people to redeem by paying the taxes. So the last thing we really want to do is to own the property. We'd rather have it on the tax rolls.
And how often do we do tax sales?
Right, they're yearly.
Yearly for the tax foreclosures? I'm sorry, tax foreclosures.
Yeah, so we have tax sale certificates that we'll sell, and we do the tax foreclosure. Tax foreclosures are a little different animal because it's a court proceeding, and so we may not get the judgment at the same time, whereas a tax sale certificate, we'll sell them on the same day, and that kind of thing. So it kind of is a rolling basis.
Now, if I'm right, when nobody buys the tax, if they're behind on their taxes and nobody buys their tax sale note, does it automatically go to us as holding the tax lien on the property?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Oh,
and then,
No, that's.
Yeah.
yeah,
I was going to say, yeah, we have an annual tax sale, which obviously third-party lien holders are allowed to come in, purchase the lien for delinquent taxes for the prior year. And any properties that are not sold to a third-party lien holder are automatically struck off to the township at a rate of 18% interest. So a lot of these properties that are on the foreclosure list are liens that the township holds, that after 3 years of holding the lien, we are permitted to legally, we are permitted to start the foreclosure proceedings if the township so wanted to
I thought
proceed.
municipality was 6 months after holding a lien. I know regular tax liens are 3 years, but I thought with a municipality, when we hold it, it could be 6 months.
It's very possible I got the two of them mixed up, but yes, there is a certain amount of time frame for a third-party lien holder to start foreclosure proceedings, and a certain amount of time that the township could do as well.
And once we finish foreclosing on these properties, can we then sell them as a revenue for income coming into?
If it's a viable property, sometimes these normally the township, normally properties that are struck off to the township are usually the most desirable. Some portion of it might be wetlands. The properties that are put on for tax sale, normally the investors who do come and try to purchase these liens, they do their research and they try to take the properties that are
So whatever's left over usually
so
is in.
we are left over. So once we own the property through the foreclosure proceedings, then we would review the list to see if there's any properties that were so viable to potentially sell to it. I mean, if we had a willing buyer, it absolutely would be, available for sale, but it would have to determine what type of property that it is,
I mean, there's some on there for over $1 million that they owe us in taxes. So we just have to write that off eventually if we end up taking the property?
Well, it's money that hasn't been collected, so we don't necessarily have to, it's the uncollection of taxes has already been realized.
Okay.
So, and that $1 million is most likely an accumulation of several years. Because normally, when a lien is sold, all subsequent taxes for subsequent years are added onto that lien. So the $1 million might not be taxes for 1 year that's there. It could be an accumulation of several years' taxes.
Okay. Yeah, I figured that. So technically, we'll wait till about a year, and after a year of not paying taxes, that's when we'll start looking at a property and saying, what are we going to do? And then it'll go on a tax sale lien. And from the tax sale lien, whatever doesn't go, goes to us. And then
Correct.
within 6 months of us holding it, we can put it up for sale if we wanted to.
Pretty
So we
much.
shouldn't be really sitting on any of these for 30 years.
Well, as Mr. Clark said, it's very possible that there was a story behind it. I doubt that we've let something sit on there for 30 years, something because it's an official court proceeding. Sometimes sometimes a property holder, they could declare bankruptcy and they could put a stay on the whole lien process. So it's not as cut and dry as I'm explaining it out to be. So,
Very well, thank you.
sure.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? I'd like to close this portion of the meeting. Okay, do you want to?
May I make a motion for 9A1 through 9B2 inclusive?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, excuse me, Mayor. I believe 9B2 is an appointment to the Green Team.
I apologize. Let me amend my motion to only include 9B1.
I'll second.
Wait, you're going to make an
So
appointment?
it's 9A1 through 9A11 and 9B1, correct?
Okay.
Seconded?
I did, yes, I second. I'm sorry.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich,
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. 9B1?
I did that one.
I mean 2.
Make a motion for 9B2, Mayor.
What, you want to read?
Green team.
It actually is not coming up. I'm having technical issues.
It's not there.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe hold 9B2 till the next meeting?
Mr. Russo, it was a Miss Leone. You would, were asking for an appointment to the Green Team?
Yes, is that a majority appointment?
Council appointment, correct. By
Okay.
majority vote.
Okay, I'd make a motion for 9B2.
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Okay. 10.1, was that taken off? Or we have to vote this down? So we voted it in at the last meeting. Everybody was confident at that meeting, and this meeting, they're voting it down. Ordinance number 0-19-1, 10.1, 2019 salary ordinance, non-union employees. Whereas pursuant to NJSA, did you want me to read that? I don't need to read it.
No, I believe that you just need a motion and second, and
Correct, we're voting it down,
Vote it
so
down,
we just
right.
need a motion, second, and then a roll call.
Okay.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I'll second that.
roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
No.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes. To be clear, this is to vote down 10A1?
Right, the motion is to vote down.
Yeah, I'll take that back, yes.
I got it.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. 0-19-8, 10.2, amend 2019 salary ordinance for TWU. Ordinance number 0-19-8, introduced and passed on first reading on 2/5/19 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 2/8/19 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance: An ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell.
So move, Mayor.
A second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Zero dash 19-10, 10.3.
Mayor, if I can interrupt, I believe we're supposed to have a public hearing for that last ordinance. For 0-19-8.
10-2, that
They're
was
not,
10-2.
isn't it?
10.2.
So I'd like to open 10.2, 0-19.8, if there's any discussion from anyone in the audience? You want to come up to the microphone? I think it's for the TWU employees. the town manager negotiated a contract.
Yes, Mayor, this is for our clerical, the laborers, police dispatchers. There was a contract negotiated, so this is enacting the salary ordinance so we can pay in line with the negotiated contract.
I'll close this portion. Can I have a motion? Anybody?
We voted on it. We went backwards.
Zero 19-10, 10.3, amend chapter 139-69, registration fees for recreation. I'd like to open this portion of the meeting to discuss. Seeing none, I'll close this portion up, sorry.
Are the fees for these deficit neutral, or are they funded by taxpayer money at all?
These are funded by user fees that are put into a dedicated trust that are specific to fund the summer camp programs and
So
such.
no money is coming out of taxpayer funds. This is fully
This is fully user fees, exactly. This
pays
is
for salaries, pays for everything.
correct. As far as the summer camp program goes, there are certain special events that the township has. Easter in the park, Halloween, Christmas, the holiday celebrations. Those types of events are funded through the township budget for under one of the line items. But
But
as far
5
as
weeks of camp is covered under 300, what is it, $300?
yes, roundabout, but that is
Okay.
simply paid by user fees of the program.
If I can comment
Deficit
real quick,
neutral.
because of the anticipated rise in minimum wage, that's what's driving this increase.
Oh, I know, we're going through it too. So, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'd like to close this portion of the meeting. Ordinance number 0-19-10, introduced and passed on first reading on 2/19/19 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 2/22/19 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and that copies are available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance amending Article 24, Chapter 139, Section 69, subsection B, entitled Registration Fees for Recreation of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
A motion that ordinance number 01910 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the March 8th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
A second.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich,
Yes.
Ms. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Russo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes. Ordinance 0-19-11, 10.4, amend Chapter 2, Alliance to Prevent Alcoholism and Drug Abuse.
Excuse me, Mayor, if I can comment on this. The public hearing and adoption has been rescheduled for March 19th. There was a publication error with the Asbury Park Press, so
So we're taking this off the agenda.
it's being carried to the next meeting.
Carry it, okay. Ordinance 0-19-12, 10.5, amend Chapter 188 Land Use, Article, what is it, 14? 16, Planning Board, Section 154, entitled Alternates. I would like to open this portion of the meeting for discussion on this topic. None? Ordinance number 0-19-12, introduced and passed on first reading on 2/19/19 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 2/22/19 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and that these copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance amending Chapter 188 Land Use, Article 16, Planning Board, Section 154, entitled Alternates of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'll make the motion that ordinance number 0-19-12 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 3/8/19 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Introduction of ordinances. Would someone introduce?
A motion to introduce ordinance number 0-19-13 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the 3/8/19 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 3/19/19 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
I'll second.
Title of ordinance? An ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance 0-1914.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-19-14 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the 3/8/19 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 3/19/19 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
No.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No. Ordinance 0-19-15. Someone? I don't have that. Do you want me to read it?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-19-15 on its first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the 3/8/19 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 3/19/19 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second, and I have a question. Does this particular ordinance also apply to the Solomon shooting range?
No, this is just our police,
Strictly police.
police shooting range
Okay.
that's used by other agencies.
Thank you.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 139, Article...
Okay, hold on.
I hate Roman numerals.
It is
Is it 27?
Article 27. yeah.
27, shooting range use, Section 79, use by outside agencies of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Is there any unfinished business?
Yes, actually, Mayor, if I may.
Please.
I know we introduced a new ordinance for, and we separated out the township manager's salary for the ordinance purposes. And I just want to just clarify, because again, I was not here last year, but from what I have been told, that this contract was negotiated in good faith with the prior council. So why the change?
I have no issue with the contract. I stated it before. I have an issue with the increase in the salary does not match the 5%.
But you actually stated
That's
it,
what I
you, okay, but you also stated in your negotiation, which, by the way, opens us up for unlawful lawsuit, just so you know, because of the fact you made a good faith negotiation in a contract.
Ms. Richmond, I am not questioning the contract that I agreed to last year. I just stated that. What I am questioning is the salary increase that is in the document. Mr. Russo made a request that the increases are 5%. That did not meet, or it did not follow the requirement that your councilman asked for.
Okay, but it did,
What the mayor's saying, if it's 160, 5% would be 8,000, would be
I understand
168.
that, but what was negotiated in good faith, like,
Has-
please
has-
don't interrupt me. You don't want, we just discussed you not interrupting me. Please don't interrupt me. Thank you. Okay, so to be fair, again, this is going on and on and on. You voted no, but again, in the prior council, all this was already negotiated, regardless of what the ordinance stated back then. You negotiated at that level. Why this time are you questioning the 5% or whatever it was at the maximum?
Because the $180,000 number was never in question. It was $160,000. That's what we agreed to last year, 160 and change. That's what we agreed to
Is that
last
true?
year.
Manager, is that true?
There's other factors of the compensation that are included in this salary ordinance.
What we agreed to last year, I still stand by. The ordinance is saying it has a min and a max of over 180,000. I don't agree with the max in that number. What is the issue?
You're taking the salary portion. There's other pieces of the compensation that are added up to that.
That you
Not
negotiated?
to that maximum.
But that's not what this says. That's not what it says. When you give a salary range, it's a salary range. It has nothing to do with what's going on, everything. Do you take everybody else's package and add it into their salary, and then, was that on these documents?
If it's direct compensation, yes. That's why there's several stipend amounts that are separated
It
out.
says stipend on it. Yes? I mean, I
extra
looked at
job
the
duties.
budgets, I reviewed the budget, I looked at the salary items. You had salary and you had stipends. Again, I'm not questioning what I agreed to last year. I'm not saying no to that. What I am saying is, if there was a min and a max that did not follow the 5%. By the way, I'm allowed my opinion, and in my opinion, it did not follow what was requested by Tom Russo, so I voted no. I think I was pretty clear.
I would like to say that the mayor and I were the only two seated members last year that did negotiate this contract, and I did negotiate in good faith. The vote is for the salary.
It's an ordinance. It's not the salary, I'm sorry.
And I do believe that the two no votes, well, no, I won't say that. I do believe that your vote is not in good faith, and that is my opinion.
If I could
You're entitled to
interject, we're falling into the same thing we did last week. We've had a vote on the salary ordinance. That vote's settled. We're out of unfinished business at this point, and into commentary. So I think that, we're past the point of further debate on this, and you can reopen it at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Don't ask-
Generally,
I was going to say, then don't ask for any other business, because that does open it back up, right?
yeah, but I didn't do that. Well, unfinished, and then we went to information. But his point was you have to talk about it at that point. The next regular meeting will be Tuesday, March 19, 2019, executive session at 6:30, regular session at 7:30. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Mayor, can we have a motion and second to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell? Yes. Mayor Berger?
Yes.